Oh, hey, I'm Mr. Morris and welcome to a revision video for AQA's English Language Paper 2, Question 5. Paper 2, Question 5 is the non-fiction writing question. It's worth 40 marks, which makes it worth a quarter of your entire GCSE. That means it's quite important. Those 40 marks are split into two assessment objectives. AO5, which is the quality of your ideas, argument, methods and organisation, and AO6, which is your technical accuracy. In old money, that's spelling, punctuation and grammar. So what are you going to be asked to do? The first thing that you're going to see is you've been given a statement. Now this statement is going to be about a national or possibly even a global topic. Now you are expected to know a little bit of something about the world and actually care and be able to engage with the topic at hand. Now in the past, these topics have covered things like the environment, animals, school, parenting and sport. Today I'm going to give you the example. YouTubers are not talented artists, they are fame-hungry attention seekers. You'll then be asked to either write a speech, a letter, or an article. You've got 1 hour, go. But wait, I've got some top tips to help this go a little bit more smoothly. 1. Never ever mention the statement. Have you ever read a newspaper? Don't answer that. I have, and let me tell you, they never start with, I agree with the statement. You've been to assemblies, they're basically speeches. Does whoever delivers them ever start with, I agree with the statement? Probably received a letter, a postcard, something in the post. Very rarely will you ever open it up and it says, I agree with the statement. You should not say the word, the statement. Now, if you have to, you can reword the statement. So you can talk about YouTubers and how they're fame hungry and they're show-offs, but you should never be copying that statement out word for word. A common mistake that people make is they write, some people think that, and then write the statement out. That's a waste of your time. You just steal those ideas and put them into your own words. You can take individual phrases, little snippets, and put it into your own writing, but you are trying to show that you can write, not that you can copy. 2. Be explicit about genre conventions. That means make it really clear what type of text you're writing. So you've been asked to write a letter. First thing you should write, dear, and then a name. If you don't know that person's name, you should be writing dear, sir, or madam. You don't need to bother with an address. You could put a date, but you need to make it clear from the outset that you are writing a letter. Similarly, when you finish, you should write yours sincerely if you know that person's name, or yours faithfully if you don't, and finish by signing your own name. If you've been asked to write a speech, first thing you should do is introduce yourself and thank the audience for coming. Similarly, at the end, you should thank the audience again and maybe even do something crazy like ask for questions. If you've been asked to write an article, you're going to need a headline. You might also want a date and a byline that says your name as the person who wrote it. 3. Pretty much the first thing that you write down should be your opinion. Apart from anything that establishes the genre convention, such as a dear or a hi, my name is, and today I'm going to be talking about, the very first thing you should write down with any content should be your opinion. So let's look at our example today about YouTubers. Imagine that I'm writing a letter to KSI. I'm going to write, dear KSI, comma, new line. Now I'm going to want to say my opinion straight away. I can sugarcoat it, but I don't want to leave anybody in any doubt about what I'm going to say, about how I feel. So I'm going to say something like, dear KSI, I mean no disrespect to you, but I thought that I should express my opinion that YouTubers are overrated as artists and shouldn't be put in the same bracket as poets or actors. Clear enough. If I'm writing a newspaper article, for example, my headline should include my opinion. YouTubers, colon, why they're not all they're cracked up to be. Clear. It's obvious that I don't rate YouTubers. If I'm writing a speech, I want to introduce myself. I want to say, hi there, my name is Mr. Morris, and today I'm going to be talking about YouTubers, specifically how they're overrated and nothing more than power and fame-hungry attention seekers. 4. Pre-plan your punctuation. You should plan to include certain punctuation. For example, in the first paragraph, everybody should try to include a colon. Now, you might think that colons are only for starting lists, but you're wrong. Colons are a really handy tool that answer an imaginary question. For example, YouTubers, colon. The imaginary question is, what about them? So you'd write YouTubers, colon, and there's your answer. Overrated, power-hungry, attention seekers. Or you could say, it's time everybody knows the truth about YouTubers. The question there is, what is the truth about YouTubers? Colon, then the answer. We need to reconsider the respect we pay them. You should also plan ahead to use rhetorical questions. I'm not saying to use one in every paragraph. You should definitely be aiming to use several rhetorical questions, as it's a really important way of engaging your audience. Perhaps one of the most important pieces of punctuation that you should be thinking about using is commas. Now, if you're the type of person who easily forgets commas, there are tricks that you can learn to help you include commas. A really good trick is starting your sentence with a verb that ends ing. For example, looking. If I start a sentence with looking, such as, looking on the internet last night, at that point I need a comma. And after that comma, I need a simple sentence. So my simple sentence could be something like, I came to realise something about YouTubers. Put it together, looking on the internet last night, I came to realise something about YouTubers. Starting your sentence with a word that ends ing will help you to put commas in the right place and gain those important AO6 marks. One piece of punctuation that I would try to avoid is exclamation marks. They tend to only be relevant in speech, and seeing as you are writing a letter, a speech or an article, there's very little room for dialogue, and I would steer clear completely. 5. Employ set phrases. There is nothing wrong with you going away and planning a certain amount of things that you already want to say, no matter what the question is. For example, I know what you're thinking, but you're wrong. No matter what the question is, you can include that set phrase in your writing. That means that you've got precious time to spend on other ideas. You can write that in every single piece of writing you do, and it will be relevant and examiners will enjoy it. Similarly, you can pre-plan your statistics. Something like 78% of people agree that. If you already know that and you don't have to waste time thinking up a number, that might really help you out. A good thing to pre-plan would be an anecdote. So for example, if you know that you're going to talk about a time when you were younger, you might want to start off one of your paragraphs by saying, when I was a child, my father gave me a really important piece of advice. He said, son, before you judge somebody, walk a mile in their shoes. Anything like that will be really valuable to you under pressure, because you won't go in feeling that you've got nothing to write. You'll have a set amount of things already ready. This is particularly valuable if you can integrate some of the persuasive techniques that you've learned in English classes. Things like rhetorical questions, synthetic personalization, statistics, rules of 3, facts, opinions, expert opinions, repetition, repetition, repetition. 6. Mix up how you start your paragraphs. Examiners get bored of reading firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, finally. Or even worse, the, I. In an ideal world, every paragraph will start with a different word. And if that's not possible, then you should at least be consciously thinking about how your paragraphs start. Now, the best thing to do with paragraphs is for the start of one paragraph to link directly to the end of another. For example, if I finish one paragraph talking about how YouTubers only care about making money and don't care about their fans, I could take the word fans, that ended the last paragraph, and then start with something about fans. It doesn't have to be that exact word, but if I end with fans, I could start my next paragraph with some fans. It makes your paragraphs link, and it helps to give your argument a train that runs through the entire piece. Now, my final 4 tips are a little spicier. These are for the people amongst you who are aiming for the higher grades. Now, I'm not telling anybody to turn this video off. Anything that you take from this video will be helpful, so carry on watching. But bear in mind that if you can't access these tips, then that's fine too. You don't need to worry. What I've given you today will help you get your target grade, possibly even higher. 7. Be funny. For example, everybody loves puns, wordplay. If you can make some subtle jokes about either the meanings or the sounds of words, that is a thing that examiners love, because that's a thing that everybody loves. If you're reading an article, if you were actually reading an article in a magazine or a newspaper that you'd bought, then you would like to see some wordplay. It'd make you smile. It might not make you belly laugh, but it would make you go like this. And that's all you need from an examiner to get you some vital marks. Other types of humour involve irony, saying the opposite of what you mean on purpose. Like, obviously, YouTubers contribute so much to society, helping millions and millions of people, getting the starving off the streets, solving crimes, even conducting minor surgeries. Things that just aren't true. If you say them like they're real, that's a really nice way of injecting a little bit of humour. Also, adding a touch of surrealism is a really nice way of getting marks. Including interesting similes is a really good way of injecting a little bit of humour into an otherwise quite stern argument. For example, trying to get a YouTuber to take responsibility for their actions is sort of like trying to teach your grandma how to play Minecraft. 8. Acknowledge the other argument. This is a trap that people fall into because I'm not asking you to sit on the fence. I'm not saying that you have to argue both sides equally. What I'm telling you to do is act like a reasonable person and discuss that you understand how the other people feel. A really good way of doing this is starting with the opposite opinion. You can say, look, I understand that millions of people love watching YouTube. It's a safe haven for some people. It calms them down. It lets them unwind after a hard day. It's like slipping on a fluffy pair of rabbit-shaped slippers, getting a cup of hot chocolate, pouring a bag of marshmallows into it, and then sipping it to your heart's content. But what I'm telling you is, and that's where you then switch to your own opinion. By acknowledging the first opinion, it helps add contrast and makes your opinion seem more sensible. You can also systematically take it down by making it look silly, like I did by linking it to rabbit-shaped slippers, or you can highlight the negative parts whilst focusing on the positive parts in your own argument. I'll say again, make sure you don't end up sitting on the fence and making it unclear which side you're on. All the way through, from the very first thing that you write, you should be clear in how you feel and what you want the audience to take away. 9. Use imagery. Now, you might think this is a paper 1 question 5 strategy, using simile, metaphor, hyperbole, adjectives, adverbs, interesting vocabulary. But good writing transcends genre. The best writers will use their best techniques in everything they write. So feel free to use similes. Feel free to use those interesting and emotive words that you know. Why call something sad when you can call it heartbreaking? Why call something big when you could call it gargantuan? Use your high-level vocabulary. Use your imagery. Paint a picture with your words. Make that picture stand out to your audience and make your argument irresistible. 10. End poignantly. Try to make it so that your conclusion genuinely hits hard. Use your knowledge of your audience, the world, any philosophy or psychology that you know, and try to make your ending the hardest hitting section of your work. Now, this isn't going to work if you run out of time, which is why you need to plan your answer and make sure you have time to fit in a poignant ending. It should feel that your argument has built to a crescendo and the pressure can't be contained anymore, and your final paragraph is going to hit like a fist. You might want to say something like, but if we stop and focus on what's important, then I think we can all realise. Almost guilt trip your audience, manipulate them. Make them feel those strong emotions, the sadness at the problem, the happiness at knowing what the solution is, the warmth of being included in that solution. You can thank them. You can say, and thank you for being one of the good guys. Thank you for looking out for the small guys. And thank you for making a difference. Make sure that they either put their article down, leave from your speech, or put the letter back in the envelope, and all they can think about is doing exactly what you want them to do. And there we have it. 10 simple tips to help you with your paper 2 question 5. If you've got any feedback, leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.